I'm not sure if that's the right way we wanted to start the show with Voddie.
Well,
but
there's a pre-show to the show. Let's just say that.
That's all right. Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politics on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chalk Knox, I'm the Water Boy. And, of course, our brother Voddie in the studio again.
Yes,
good to have
sir.
you, man.
Good to be here, man.
Yeah, so that's two Texans right here, one Oklahoman, and one Alaskan, which don't really count because you can see Russia from their house up there. So,
Does it count?
Yeah.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm praying for your soul.
Speaking of praying for your soul, have you subscribed to the Cross Politic email list? If you're not on the Cross Politic email
Get
list, what's wrong with you people? If you're not really, you should be. Being subscribed to our email list means you won't miss any updates about Cross Politic or the Fight Laugh Feast Network. You'll hear about what's on the schedule for the week, live events, conference updates, rowdy Christian merch, updates from other shows within the network, and you'll hear from sponsors on the show as they seek to take dominion for God's kingdom in the business world. To subscribe, simply enter your email address at the bottom of the page at fightlaughfeast.com. Again, subscribe. Put your email address at that little box at the bottom of fightlaughfeast.com.
So, yes, thank you. Of Texas.
Thank you, Phil. That's our welcome here for you Texan folk.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the Zambian song?
Is there a Zambian song? Like Deep in the Heart of Zambia.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No.
But he's like, out of all the things I prepped for to come on Cross Politics.
Man, Zambia, man.
No, that wasn't
that was
That's a hard pass.
was that cultural appropriation or something?
No,
That was. I don't even know what the name would be for that, man.
That was his nice way of saying, please stop, Gabe.
Yeah.
Please stop.
If cultural appropriation existed, that would be it.
I think I officially embarrassed Voddie on Cross Politics.
Yes, that's
about it.
Is that the first time you embarrassed Voddie?
No.
It's one of your spiritual gifts.
Too.
It is true. It is true.
Yeah.
God made me for that.
It's
true.
So is there's you have a new show brand new.
It's not show.
It's a series.
New series.
So we wanted to start off talking about your new series. It's after the book Fault Line. So you created a video series about it. We're going to play the trailer.
Knox filmed it, didn't you?
Yeah. So we want to play the trailer, and then I want you to talk about why the series.
Cool.
He didn't film the trailer, but
The religion of anti-racism and the religion of social justice has no redemption. Christianity is a religion that's all about redemption. It's all about the person and work of Jesus Christ. It is not about you doing the work of anything. The gospel will always be the gospel. However, we are not always faithful in the way that we communicate the gospel. We're doing this project because of love for the church. I honestly believe that the critical social justice movement represents a threat. We have to be right about what the word justice means and about what God requires of his people in this critical moment. What God are you trying to appease?
Wow, where can people go and get this at?
Yeah, they can go get it at Salem Now. It's available there. They can look in VoddieBaucham.org to find like hard copies. You can get the digital download at Salem Now. You'll get a PDF. But if they go to VoddieBaucham.org, they can also find booklets and DVDs. So if they want to do this with a group, that was the idea.
Right, yeah.
To like walk people through this, as a group to sort of think through the big ideas of fault lines together and to work through that as brothers and sisters really. And everybody's talking about, having conversations nowadays, right?
Right.
This is something to facilitate real conversations where we don't actually ask any part of the conversation to shut up.
There's 10 parts. 10 parts. And how long are they?
They're probably like 40-ish minutes.
Yeah, the whole total.
Each.
Yeah. So
each session or each.
The way that you designed it was that there's like a presentation in the beginning, and then there's a booklet that goes with it for the small groups.
Okay.
And so there's 10 minutes of it, and then there's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think all work through. So each episode will probably work through 20 to 30 minutes, something like that, right?
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys should know that answer better. I don't.
Well,
That's just really.
The
I mean, you filmed it, and you were.
Well, there's two
I
different
mean,
answers. There's two different answers, though.
Yeah, there's several answers to that. And the one answer is like, how long does it take you to work through all of that together as your group?
Yeah.
And then
that's about 40 minutes or so.
That's our goal, right?
Okay.
Is that people will spend about 45 minutes on a session going through this, but that's not all, watching. It's interactive.
Not just you talking the whole time. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is perfect for like a Sunday school hour or like a Wednesday night Bible study or a small group, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Is it putting you on the spot? One of the episodes that I love was one on history. So if I asked you to do you remember any of those on history? Oh, man.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Just remember stuff. No.
I remember stuff.
They got to go get it.
Okay. All right. You got to go get it. Go get it. It's phenomenal. It really is, because the whole book kind of comes out of the pages. It becomes a visual. It's really an amazing piece. Recommended for every small group.
I actually got a question still about it though. But when you started kind of down this path of like researching, studying what the Word of God says about CRT and all that stuff. Did that start like 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
Yeah, longer than that.
Something longer than that.
Longer than that. Yeah.
Could you imagine that like you were going to dedicate a big chunk of the next part of your years fighting this issue?
Yes, I could imagine.
Really?
Because back then when I started learning about Antonio Gramsci and neo-Marxism and the Frankfurt School and all these sort of things, and when those things came on my radar. My immediate thought was, wow, these guys have a long-range game plan. And number two, this stuff is, just starting to unfold. And then number three, when it hits, it's going to hit, right? And it's going to,
Right.
So, I could imagine, what we've seen. You didn't have to imagine what we've seen. We've seen this play before.
You were here a few years ago and did a talk at the University of Idaho called "Gay is Not the New Black."
Yeah.
And it's almost like that's kind of passé now.
Yeah.
And it's like now we're at like trans is not the new black.
Yeah.
Or something like I don't know what the next. I don't know what the next one is, but what's the next one?
Bro, who knows?
Because
it's coming so quick now.
Right.
Well, actually, we do know that it's the minor attracted person, which used to be pedophilia.
Yeah,
right.
Silent P.
We know that.
The plus sign.
We know that. The plus to an unknown God, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's the next play.
Yeah.
You said when it hits, it hits. And when it hit, everybody's, it was funny. You've been on this track for 25 years? Is that fair to say?
Probably not that long.
20 years?
But somewhere 15.
Probably like 40 or 50 years.
15, 20 years.
Okay, But so you've been here for a long time, and when it hit, everybody started paying attention to this. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because for you had a subversive move, which was Christian education.
Yeah.
Right. And so everybody's like, oh no, CRTs, critical theory, critical everything.
Right.
And you're like, Christian education would have already prepared you.
Well, see, in 2004, I released The Ever-Loving Truth, right? But then in 2007, I released Family-Driven Faith.
Yeah.
And Family-Driven Faith made me a pariah because I'm basically saying, get your kids out of the government education system, right? And so it's like now, people are, Ever-Loving Truth, yes. That was right. And then they're going, yes, family-driven faith. That was like,
maybe
where were y'all when I was writing this stuff?
Did they read the book? Yeah. All right. So
it would have been a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
But now people are considering. Now people are making the fights at the schools. They're realizing that there's a problem there.
Churches are starting schools like never before.
Right.
Mm-hmm. People are, moving into home education.
Yep.
People are moving into co-ops.
Right.
Those things are really encouraging to see.
When you started thinking about Christian education and the necessity of, one of the great lines that goes around that you said, and we quote you, is, if you send your kids to Caesar, don't be surprised they come back as Romans, or something like this.
Yes.
We've been pointing out that, it is one of the tenets of Marx.
It's the 10th plank in the Communist Manifesto.
The Communist Manifesto is state-run schools, government-run schools, and so I've been pointing out to people, like, look, it's great that you're showing up to your board meetings,
your
school boards, and you're saying, we want boys' restrooms and girls' restrooms. Yes, please, let's do that. But isn't the problem fundamentally. The whole structure is a Marxist structure. Like you have critical theory bled through the whole system. We need to actually free education, give it back to its the rightful authorities, which are families. Working in community. I mean, isn't that really fundamental? I mean, is that was that our first step down critical race theory? Was that our first step down
Was public education.
Marxism was public education?
No, that wasn't. Wait a minute. Ask the question again. Was the
government schools?
Was critical race theory our first step? Or are you saying was the government schools
idea
the first step down? The structure.
Yeah.
The structure itself.
That was our first step towards Marxism.
Well, see, the really it was secular humanism then, right?
Yeah.
It was the humanists. It was the secular humanist Unitarians in the Northeast, right?
Right.
That's the impetus behind
Damn
mandatory
Yankees,
government. That's
man.
it's the impetus behind mandatory government education, and they were very clear about the fact that they wanted to eradicate religious superstition, as they called it, right? So the advocates back in the 1860s, 1870s, when we got mandatory government education, that was their play, right? It wasn't the Marxist play; it was the secular humanist play. And so, fast forward,
but weren't they looking at Russia?
It was the Prussian system.
Yeah,
at the time, that was their model.
They were saying that's the enlightened system.
The Prussian system was the model.
Which was kind of getting their ideas from Marx.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it's interesting because they got played, right?
Yeah.
So you got the secular humanists who are looking at this system. Their enemy is really Christianity, because even de Tocqueville noticed that when he came here, that education was everywhere in the hands of the Protestant clergy, right? Regardless of what types of dame schools, education at home, the one-room schoolhouse, all that stuff, right? Everywhere it was in the hands of the Protestant clergy. And so you got these guys who are making this move really to get the education system out of the hands of the Protestant clergy, to eliminate religious superstition in the name of secular humanism, to make these schools the schools of humanism. And they're looking to the Prussian system, which is undergirded by Marxist ideology. And then, boom, neo-Marxist ideology is now the philosophical underpinning for this very same system, right? So they got played, and then we all got played in the process.
Well, because wasn't it like in the 1800s? There's actually a lot of Protestants were starting the public schools in the early 1800s, and that's where some of the Catholic parochial private schools started, because the Protestants were kind of owning.
But by 1900, as late as 1900, 2/3 of all students who are graduating from high school,
public
secondary school, if you were 2/3 of them were either church or home.
Wow.
Protestants fought against government education.
Wow.
Protestants were very late to adopt government education.
You're talking about, guys, I wrote this book 15 years ago, or 20 years ago. Where were you? R.L. Dabney in 70s, late 1870s, he's fighting it there. So there's a Southern Presbyterian who says, if we give this over to government to run these schools, there's a great quote by him where he says, if this happens, then you have to know that the end result of this will be that Bible reading, prayers, and catechisms will be eradicated from the schools.
And both Hodges, presidents of Princeton, they same thing with them.
Were they Presbyterians?
Yeah, they were. They were.
Sure.
Both of the Hodges, man.
That's interesting.
Both of the Hodges. At Princeton.
What do you make of that, Knox?
Yeah, Princeton was Presbyterian. Yes. It absolutely was.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's some sort of trans.
Assuredly was Presbyterian.
Past tense. I get it.
It was. You want to diagram that, Knox?
And then you got. Again, everybody who was anybody from a conservative theological perspective was railing against this from the late 1800s on into the early 1900s.
Right. Yeah.
So
you got a question?
I want to move on because first I want to start with this. Voddie, we owe you an apology because the clips we're about to play might end our friendship. And so listen, don't hate the player. We're
the messenger. We're the messenger here.
Hate the game.
Yeah.
Joy Reid's show is the one who made.
She's so bad.
Yeah, you know I don't have my heart medicine.
He's gonna play that card.
He's gonna play the hard, bro.
Anybody in the studio know how to resuscitate? Okay, so last night, Joy Reid, because of what happened on Tucker Carlson's show, Tucker basically called out that the trans movement they're going to be violent, and Joy Reid is trying to fight against that kind of push that Tucker brought on, and then so she invited Jim Wallace.
Trans Day of Vengeance is in a couple of days, right?
April 1st.
Yeah.
Which really in reality, like every day is April Fools for transgender people, but
so
different topic.
Leave it to Gabe.
It's like still a man. April Fools.
If you don't have body armor, Armor Republic, go get you some. Put that in there. So last night she had Jim Wallace on. Now I haven't seen Jim Wallace out in a minute. He's been since Obama's time. I haven't seen Jim Wallace.
He's working for Georgetown now.
Actually, he's done a really good job of creating a very liberal conscience, a theological conscience in America since Obama. So she had Jim Wallace on and a transgender person, and.
A man.
I'm going to just play it. The whole.
He's a man.
It's a man.
It's a man.
Yeah. I want to just play. It's about 5 minutes. I'm just playing. And any time that you feel like you can't take enough or your heart might explode, we can stop this clip. But if we stop it, you must comment. Okay. And just so you know, I might stop it before you do.
And make you comment.
Yeah,
it's a win-win for us.
Heads you win, lose. Tails you lose.
So at any point you feel like you want to stop, can we get some more water for this man? All right, Neil, roll the clip.
There are statistics.
Stop. Before you even start, okay? A Christian school was shot up by a transgender person. 6 people were killed in this school, shot up by a transgender person. Okay? What's the heading here? Transgender Americans under siege.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Obama's
up
communications
down
director.
and
we ain't even got to start
good
playing
as
the clip.
bad as right. Slavery is freedom. Again, just before we even start.
The headline says that right there. The bar says transgender Americans under siege. If you're listening to this, that's what the screen says.
Yeah.
And KJP, Obama's communications director.
It's not Obama, but thanks.
Biden. I mean, it is Obama, but it's Biden. She said our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack. She said that today.
Right. That's
today.
So apparently the word's gone out that this is the narrative.
Yeah. The trans are now under attack.
Right.
I was watching this and I seen all that, but there's so much in here. I didn't even think about that. All I could see was the image.
Right.
Yeah. All I could see was like, so this is Clown Town right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Are you ready to go now?
No.
Roll the clip.
Violence against transgender people was already high. 2.5 times more likely to be victims of violence than cisgender people. From 2017 to 2021, the number of trans people murdered more than doubled. 73% have been killed with a gun.
Let's just stop.
And yet,
let's just stop. All right.
Where's that violence coming from?
That's the question.
That's right.
Where's that violence coming from?
What do you mean?
Like who's doing the killing?
How many of those are
trans on trans?
Yes.
Internecine conflict.
Because we know, for example, with domestic violence, domestic violence rates, especially among lesbians, is like way higher than any other group of people in the country, right?
Because they've beaten themselves.
Yes. So you take those numbers, and what's implied is that somehow people are going out finding trans people and hurting them and murdering them and cutting them down and killing them. It's kind of like the whole COVID thing, right? You die with COVID instead of from COVID, but they still put you in the COVID numbers, right?
That's right.
This is the same thing here, right? So that's the play here.
Right.
That's
Voddie, I want to know how many of those are, also suicide. I mean, these people are already maiming themselves,
right?
And so it's not.
And we know their suicide rates are through the roof.
Right.
Keep going, Neil.
we're now seeing the moral panic over trans folks shifted onto this Nashville massacre.
That's right. It seems that the Republican Party, as usual, just can't seem to do basic math. Since January 1st, 2016, there have been 3,580 mass shootings in the United States based on the Gun Violence Archive.
Let's stop. So Here's another thing that people need to be aware of. A mass shooting, by definition, this is not my definition, right?
Yeah.
This is, I think, the FBI's definition. A mass shooting is a shooting where 4 or more people are killed in a public, indiscriminate shooting. Okay? The numbers that she's using are not defining mass shooting that way.
When you say she, you talking about Joy Behar?
Or him.
Whoever.
Him.
Is that
That's a
a
dude.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm
The
paying
dude,
attention. Okay.
Charles. Let's just call him Charles.
Yeah, the number, So again, we have this sleight of hand. Right?
Talk sleight of hand.
We have this, we have this sleight of hand. So we're talking about
With
these
the data,
mass shooting. They're being fast and loose with the data here.
Yes.
Okay. When was it? A couple of months ago, they were talking about, anyway, this number of people killed in this many mass shootings, right? And if you did the math, it was like 1.5 persons on average. It had to be 1.5 per shooting, which meant that they weren't mass shootings, right? Because you got to have at least 4 people killed, right? And it's got to be in a public setting. So what they do is, for example, if somebody in their home kills members of their own family,
they call it a mass shooting.
They call it a mass shooting. But that does not fit the definition. So they use this in order to suit their purposes, in order to inflate their numbers.
And the reason that's important is because you will hear this and you will take it and start arguing with the data, and the data ain't right. You know what I mean? And so then you're out all the way down the road. They already got you down the road, and they're winning. Keep going.
Than 5 of those have been trans. So we're saying that 99.7% at least of the mass shooters have not been transgender. So if we're going to ban someone, maybe we should ban people who are not transgender from promoting weapons.
Let's stop. Because, let's apply a little logic here, okay? Most mass shootings take place, the shooter has, drum roll, a handgun.
Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of mass shootings
take place
are done with handguns.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
But what do we want to outlaw?
AR.
Yeah.
Assault weapons, which we can't even define. But really we want to outlaw ARs, right? So again, if we're applying the same logic here, right? Most of the mass shootings, again, look it up.
Right. If we're going to do that, if we're going to reason like this,
look it up.
Then be consistent.
Be consistent.
But we're looking at a guy dressed up like a woman, and then expecting him to do logic.
Right.
I think you get more logic out of a pig with lipstick on.
Right.
Keep going, Dale.
Logic. But I don't think that's what they're trying to say, is it? They're not trying to fix the problem. They're trying to weaponize it and exploit these.
Let's stop again. Let's stop again. Let's stop. Just one more time. Okay.
I want bad Voddie. I want bad Voddie.
Here's another issue. Another issue is that this shooter, like the overwhelming majority of mass shooters,
medication.
Antipsychotics.
Yep. That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Ritalin, Prozac, depression, antidepressants.
So are we going to talk about that?
So if we're going to talk about that, yes, is this going to be on the table? Right? If we're going to do analysis of the problem, right? Then, because the other thing is, if you want to talk about 99% there's millions and millions of guns in America. Right. The overwhelming majority of them are never used in a mass shooting.
Right. That's right.
If we're going to use that logic,
right?
If we're going to talk percentages, the overwhelming majority of those guns are not used in mass shootings.
Well, and exactly what oh man, I almost said he.
Yeah.
There we go. Charles.
Lipstick Man.
Lipstick Man just said, he says that Republicans are just weaponizing this for their purposes.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's
as he weaponizes it for his purpose.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's you're doing that.
That's right, Toby.
All right.
9-year-olds who were brutally murdered just for their own bottom line in the ballot box. It's disgusting. It's hypocritical. And by the way, as a Christian, I find it offensive. They would leverage Christ's teachings.
Stop! Stop!
You're gonna break the table.
My bad.
It's metal too. It's hard to break.
I told you not to do this. I told you not to do this.
You did.
Hey man, don't be against Jesus. Don't be against Jesus, Voddie.
You gonna get punched, Gabe.
And but here's the thing. Who else gets to go on mainstream television and argue from the standpoint of, I'm saying this as a Christian,
right,
and have people go, you preach it.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, you better preach.
Who gets to do that?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Not conservative Christians.
Who gets to, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Because Christianity is the enemy. So here's what things, one of the things that you need to understand, right? Neutrality is not an option. What they must do is marginalize us, okay? They have to marginalize us. So think about it in terms of, for example, in Acts chapter 4. In Acts chapter 4, right, these guys are preaching, and they heal this lame man, and Sanhedrin's like, what are we going to do? Right? What are we going to do? The fact that this noteworthy miracle has happened, that what are we going to do?
Right.
So it's like, but what do they first call them? Right? Untrained, unschooled,
Right.
men,
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
uneducated men.
That's
They
right.
marginalize them. They start first by marginalizing them. And one of the ways that they marginalize us as Christians is to only legitimize people who identify as Christians but repudiate every essential doctrine of Christianity.
Yeah. Right.
That's one of the ways that they marginalize Christianity.
Right.
So they have this sleight of hand. And again, it's another, right? Slavery is freedom. It's no. Denying Christ, denying the essentials of the gospel, because the other guy that they have on here with him is another one who's, denied all the essentials of the gospel.
Right.
They say, this is Christianity.
Right. So you're an aberrant. You're something else.
Yes.
You're an anomaly.
Yes.
You fundamentalist, Bible believing.
Yes. Those other people, they're the heretics.
Right.
So this is another way to marginalize Christianity.
And so what we're seeing in one sense or another is another form of Levitical law and church discipline happening right in front of our very eyes.
Right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
So, Voddie, I remember when you came and did Gays Not the New Black at University of Idaho years ago, one of the things that was really helpful, really stuck with us, and we've repeated it on the show a number of times, was you're kind of walking through after the ball, jamming, desensitizing, and converting.
Yes.
And it seems like we're getting past the conversion stage where it's like it's now at the point of a gun.
Well, that is conversion.
But it's like
So,
but
it's more serious than that.
But this is also still them jamming you.
Yeah, it is
because it's like, are you a Christian?
It's desensitizing.
Yeah,
right. We're the desensitizing part is there's a man here who's obviously a man
and loves Jesus.
Right. He's dressed in women's clothing. Okay, that's the desensitizing, to just see that, to be exposed to that over and over and over again, to where you don't react to it.
Normal.
You don't recoil. It's normal. So that's the jamming piece, right? Or that's the desensitizing piece.
Right.
And then the jamming piece is this right here.
Right.
That's right.
Is the Jesus.
Where I'm speaking as a Christian, right? And so now
I follow Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the other jamming piece is transgender Americans under siege.
The text right there. Yeah.
So
Right.
if you're trying to make this about a transgender person who went in and shut up this school, so now all of a sudden you're being jammed psychologically by this as well, because somehow you have to be able to talk about this tragedy, but not recognize the identity of the shooter. Which is true in every case, unless it's a white cop who shoots a person of color.
Yeah.
So they're giving you the categories by which you should look at this.
Yeah. So I can't help but think that, one of the things has been the blessing of being under Doug's ministry, under Toby's ministry, is that cultural pressures haven't moved my pastors. But I see guys like, Russell Moore. Kind of get to me. He's getting moved.
How about Rick Warren?
Rick Warren's getting moved.
I changed on women pastors or whatever.
I've seen some of these guys who were big Evas, we call them now at this point, but they're getting pressured and maybe jammed and maybe desensitized and maybe converted slowly through all this process. And it really is
some instances
dislodging.
In some instances, that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. But in other instances, there are people who were conservative outwardly because that was their in.
That's how they got to their prominence.
That was their end, right? And now that's not the flavor of the month anymore. It's easy for them to revert to that which they
actually were
all along.
They were sympathetic with
right?
that, or actually
absolutely,
held it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
So in the 80s and 90s, you had to be against Bill Clinton because of his adulterous affair or whatever. And now, that pressure, that cultural kind of conservative pressure is not blowing that direction.
I want Voddie to finish breaking our table. Neil.
Okay.
All right.
Way against innocent people.
Jim Walton, I'm so glad that you were available to talk today, because there is this thing that's happening where it's kind of hard to avoid the sort of Christian element to it. There is a moral panic over LGBTQ folks in general.
Stop.
Table's almost gone.
It's kind of hard to avoid these sort of Christian. This was a Christian school.
Yeah.
Now just replace these Christians with Black people or Asians or Muslims or any other, or Jews, right? Just replace them with anyone.
Right.
And try to imagine Joy Behar saying,
having this conversation.
It's kind of hard to ignore this sort of
this Jewishness, this Yiddishness,
this sort of black, these black people have been slaughtered.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to ignore this sort of, that's all I'm saying. Just try to imagine that.
Oh, man.
Trans folks in particular. Do you have any idea where that is coming from?
Hold your heart, Voddie.
LGBTQ are initials that all stand for somebody who's beloved of God, made in the image of God. Let's be clear about that. This is all a distraction from hate. That's what they're using this for, distraction. Here's a moral fact. The leading cause of death now for our children
is abortion
and teenagers.
Abortion
are guns. Leading cause. And here's a moral conclusion from the moral fact.
Stop.
I thought I was right, but I guess I was wrong.
Guns are not a cause of death.
Yeah.
Right.
Guns are not a cause of death. Guns don't cause death. They don't. I've got lots of guns. There are people at this table with guns right now. I'm not pointing anybody out, and I'm not excluding myself per se.
Because you're in Idaho and you have constitutional carry.
But here's the thing: those guns, loaded guns,
are not killing anybody.
They're not killing anybody.
No, they're not.
They're not going to kill anybody.
Right.
And a large number of gun deaths. This is what they don't tell you. A large number of gun deaths are suicides. Suicides are counted in the gun death numbers, right? But the way that this is, presented,
right?
Again, you got to recognize the game that's being played.
Yeah.
And this is a game that's being played.
That's right.
We're not protecting our children.
That's right.
If it were websites or poison food or some website, we would take care of it.
Stop.
But Republicans
unless it was doctors who wanted to mutilate our children.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
See. Now if I'm trying to stop that, just think about what he just said.
Yeah.
We got to protect our children, right?
Right.
We got to. If there's a website, or if there's a social contagion,
right,
that has them identifying as trans, and what if there were medical professionals who were making boatloads of money,
right,
mutilating these children, right? He seems to be saying,
would he stop them?
That the idea of protecting our children would be acceptable. But we all know that what Wallace would say is that would not be protecting our children.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Be a choice.
Keep going, Neil. I want to get to the end of this. This is so good. Keep going.
There's nothing we can do. This is needed for our freedom. So what he's saying there is we will sacrifice our children for the sake of what he calls freedom.
Stop. We will sacrifice our children for the sake of freedom.
Who shot who?
Hold on. No. I don't want to have a baby right now because I want to live my life.
You better shut up.
I don't want to have a baby right now because I want to finish school.
Right.
I don't want to have a baby right now because fill in the blank. Right. So I will sacrifice this baby
for freedom
in the name of my freedom.
Right.
Jim Wallace ain't gonna make that argument though, is he?
No. No.
He's not going to make that argument.
He'll defend that.
So it's amazing that
You done broke the mic.
I done broke the mic. I done broke the mic. I done broke the mic. Fix the mic. Fix the mic.
I don't care if you got to hold it for him, Gabe.
But it's amazing that these people are making some of the exact same arguments, right, that we're making, but they're making them on the exact opposite side of the equation.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So they're recognizing the appropriateness of the positions that we're taking and the things that we're arguing for. But when we argue them for the wrong topics, then they say somehow we're evil, we're wicked, we're unhinged, yada yada yada.
We're fascist.
We're fascist.
Yeah. We talk about maybe like parental rights. Don't parents, aren't they the primary ones who should care for their and if it's transgender care, and they say, how could you take that right away from parents who want to give their kids? But if we say we don't trust public schools, they say, well, you're a parent. You don't really understand. You're not qualified to make.
You don't have a master's degree.
But they do this all over the place.
Right.
They do this all over the place.
Let's ask, what kind of freedom is this?
Yeah.
For whom? From whom? This is a question he has to ask. You said worship in your opening segment there.
Hold on.
There was an ancient god called Moloch. Leviticus talks about Moloch, who was a god that children were sacrificed to in flames. And the Bible is very tough on Moloch.
Let him finish.
Guns are our new Moloch.
Yeah.
Guns are the Moloch. We're sacrificing our children to Moloch.
Stop! Voddie's in such shock right now. If you're listening to this,
that was amazing, wasn't it?
If you can't see it, Voddie is so stunned right now he can't even talk to yell
that
stop.
Was incredible. That was some jujitsu,
bro.
That's wicked.
Yeah, it is.
That is.
Yeah.
See what they just did?
Wicked, man.
Go ahead. Oh my goodness.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Like this guy's pro-abortion, and he just made that argument about guns.
Right.
Not Planned Parenthoods.
Not Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, right.
But who exists for the express purpose.
Yeah. Of chopping up little babies.
They are Moloch, right?
Right.
And he's actually going to make this argument.
Right.
Do you think he's trolling conservatives?
That's wicked.
No,
I mean, I feel like
that's wicked.
But I feel like he's trolling. He's using all our arguments, what we would use, and then he's turning it around and like trolling us.
I mean, he does. I mean, he hasn't done this for years, but I mean, he used to actually interact with a lot of conservatives back in the day.
Used to,
and I'm sure he knows our arguments. But
so, Doc, I have to ask you, because you said this, they're taking all of our arguments, they're flipping it. When I hear this, there's so much more to this. I don't even know if your heart can handle any more of this. That's just such a.
My heart is fixed, man. My heart is fixed. They fixed my heart. They fixed my heart.
All right, good. So we're gonna be all right. All right, but so we'll
my
keep
blood pressure now.
It's creeping up.
When we have this type of conversation, and when we see the type of demonic possession in our culture that is represented right next to Jim Wallace, I think Jim Wallace is part of that too. We were talking about this.
Next to him.
He's
inside him.
yeah, right.
Right, absolutely. But then when we go and we make the logical arguments that you just made here at the table, we don't get a platform for that in the same way that they do.
You don't think Voddie's going to get invited to the Joy Reid show?
No, because she's not serious.
I know.
If she's serious.
No, I know.
Joy has filled his heart once again.
Just the thought.
I know.
Hey, Joy,
Just
why
the
don't you
thought.
call Voddie up and have him on? He'd love to be on your show. Somebody tag her in this clip.
Just the thought.
What is our response to this as we engage? Because you're right. I feel like that I've watched a lot of conservatives trying to argue the facts and argue the stats, and this stuff is not having the same impact. And I'm like, well, when you have a demon-possessed culture, you can't logic with these folks.
Listen, if you or I, and especially if these guys went on the show and argued the fact, then you make the neo-Marxist move where you basically say that kind of argumentation is white supremacy.
Well, that's what's coming up. It's so funny. Okay.
That kind of argumentation. That kind of argumentation and relying on that type of.
That's the hegemonic power.
Yes.
That's the dominant power.
Neil, keep playing the clip because you jumped this.
Do easy, common sense things.
Amen.
You just triggered me to look. Jeff Charlotte tweeted a photo. I have to show this. This is a photo of a bullet at the center of a cross. That is sacrilege. That you have this worship of guns by people who are calling themselves Christians.
Well, white Christian nationalists are white nationalists, and Christian gets thrown in there. So they're white more than Christian. And I'm just saying, let's be Christian more than white. So it is false worship.
You called it, right? You called it. You just called it. You just called it. Are you going to be all right, Doug? You ain't coming back to the show, are you?
So let's run this down. Here's the thing. When you talk about the current expression of cultural Marxism, power dynamics, hegemonic power. The hegemonic power is the ideology used by the oppressor in order to oppress these various groups, right? And the hegemonic power, the people in power, the people in authority, the oppressors, white, male, cisgendered, heterosexual, native-born, able-bodied, you take that all the way down the list until you get to Christian. Christianity is the ideology behind the hegemony in the West in general and in America in particular. And so America becomes that. So when you say white Christian nationalist, you're pointing at three of these. So just like there's this this intersectionality, right? This is intersectionality in reverse,
flipped,
right? This is intersectionality flipped. So you get to put three
You're more of a racist,
interlocking oppressor groups, right, together. So that's the wordplay there with the white Christian nationalist. And so what's interesting though is that these people are on this show. They see something with a cross. They declare it as sacrilege. They make an argument against the violence, and they root it in, I'm a Christian, right? So essentially what they're arguing for is laws that take a Christian perspective, their Christian perspective. That's what they're arguing for, right?
Right.
They're saying my Christian perspective would do this gun law thing.
Right.
They want America to do their version of Christian nationalism while they condemn the very concept of Christian nationalism. And they think we're fools and that we won't see it.
Right. And to their credit, I mean, they've been running this play, and a whole lot of people haven't seen it. A whole lot of people haven't called them on it. Say, so you want to have gun laws based on your version of Christianity?
Yeah.
So you want to make laws, public square laws, in the name of Christianity?
So Joy Behar's got two white Christian men on their show who are basically arguing. Joy Behar, Joy Reid. Joy Reid, sorry. She's got me messed up. She got me all messed up, right? So Joy Reid, she's got two white Christian males.
Wow.
White Christian males.
I mean, that's not a white argument.
Right.
Arguing for their Christianity to be the impetus for changing laws in this country.
I mean, they're white mansplaining.
Can I drop this?
You already did earlier. Might as well. It's dropped. That is. So here's where I want to end at, because tonight you're going to be at the University of Idaho.
Yep.
And your talk is he made them male and female.
I was hoping it was going to be something a little more like, in your face.
I tried. Jay wouldn't let me.
Wait a second.
Jay polished all my stuff.
But then I thought about it, and I was like, actually, that's now it's in your face. Basically, that's where we are now. It's like you could say, in the beginning, God.
And
they'd be like, they start screaming.
Yeah.
Hair on fire.
I mean,
in one sense, you're going to be talking a lot about this tonight. Could you just kind of summarize some hot gospel and how you're going to put that together tonight, and maybe speak to this in the same way? Because I don't think we get out of this apart from some hot gospel.
Yeah, but again,
not man's law.
We go there, and there's this God who created us in His image, and He made us male and female, right? And he gives us this law written on the heart, and then he gives us this particular precept that we're to obey, that Adam's to obey, right? Him and all his posterity. Adam doesn't obey and he falls, and all of us fall in him because he's our federal head, right? That's what gets us where we are. That's what gets us
Here.
That's what gets us all of this,
Yes.
right? So that's the first thing we need to say, that we get all of this because of that fall, because of our federal head and us being fallen in him. And there is absolutely no hope other than or outside of or apart from another federal head, right? And us being remade in his image through being reborn in him. And so ultimately, he takes the penalty that we owe because of the first Adam. He lives the righteous life that we cannot live and that the first Adam did not. And because of that, we have forgiveness of our sin, righteousness imputed to us because of the finished work of that last Adam. And so at the end of the day, this all goes back to the God who made us, male and female. This all goes back to that first family. And it all culminates in the last family, which is back there in the garden, recreated, where there's a marriage between a bridegroom and his bride. And again, all of that goes back to this same imagery. All of that goes back to this same truth. And so tonight, that's what I'm wanting to talk about. That's what I'm wanting to hammer home, is this truth, beauty, and goodness that we have because of the person and work of Christ, because of this God who created us in his image and in his likeness, and the fact that apart from that, we have no standard. And that's what we're dealing with right now, right?
Yeah.
There's no standard.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's where we're going. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're talking about. And then we're just going to, let a black man stand up in white Idaho.
Come on now.
And
they might not stand for it.
They might not.
And have people protest because a black man standing up in white Idaho talking about Jewish Jesus.
Yeah.
So
Hey, let's do
I like
that.
how you hit all those.
Let's do that.
Anti-Semitism and all.
know?
So where can the people go right now? It's just a reminder to go because it's offering time. So bring your offerings. You can go to VoddieBauchamMinistries.com or .org.
VoddieBaucham.org.
VoddieBaucham.org to get the Fault Line series.
Get the Fault Line series, and this is, man.
This is all in there.
This is where we are. This is where we are. And be on the lookout. There's going to be a re-release in September of The Ever-Loving Truth.
Yes.
This is
really?
like almost the 20th anniversary
wow.
of my first book, The Ever-Loving Truth. We sort of revised and updated.
Wonderful.
That's coming out in September as well. So
Brilliant.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah,
Thank you.
always great having
You might
you
want
on.
to close your ears on this one.
Appreciate
If you're
it.
single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic. I need to turn Voddie's mic up before he says something about that last piece I just gave.
He was good. He was good. He didn't start
Don't you chant Voddie? Don't you desensitize? We're desensitizing Voddie right now.